Okay, so welcome to the Goldsmiths International EU Study Abroad and Erasmus Students Orientation Briefing. Firstly, a huge welcome to Goldsmiths. We're so excited to have you here and studying with us this term, this year, for the next few years. Yeah, thanks very much for taking the time to join us for this briefing. We're sorry that we can't be with you in a room all together, but it's great to have you online. And as I said already, please do ask any questions that you have in the Q&A function on the webinar. My name's Abroad and Erasmus. I'm the Global Opportunities Manager here at Goldsmiths. So I look after the kind of incoming study abroad program and opportunities for students to study abroad or work abroad while they're at Goldsmiths as well. Presenting with me today are Jack Selby and Shannon Stowers, both from the Global Opportunities team, and they'll be taking over further along into the presentation as well. We also have colleagues behind the scenes co-hosting on the Q&A panel from the international recruitment team, and we have a couple of students, Temi and Adya, who will be part of a Q&A with Shannon later, and also they're answering questions as well. So please do ask questions from the team, and we really hope that you find this presentation useful. Just to give you an overview of what we're going to cover, I'm going to introduce our campus to you briefly, cover a few areas relating to coronavirus, give you an overview of Welcome Week and some things that you might want to get involved with this week. We're going to cover the Goldsmith systems, so email, timetable, virtual learning environment, look a bit at academic support and student support, and some tips on staying safe and healthy, some top travel tips, navigating London, and some suggestions on what to do now you're here. And then, as I mentioned already, a Q&A with Temi and Adya to give you a bit of a flavour of what it's like to be here at Goldsmiths. And at the end, a section on adapting and kind of making supporting you to build your own network and to adapt to life here in the UK. It sounds a lot, but we hope that we'll be able to get through that in the next couple of hours, and we hope that it will be useful. So just first things first, I just wanted to see how much you knew about Goldsmiths already, about our campus. So please use the chat function for this. I want to see some answers for what is the name of the building I'm looking at the moment. If you could type it in the chat function. Panelists are not allowed to answer. Any ideas from anyone? Yeah, there's some correct answers coming in there. This is the Richard Hogarth building, or RHB, as you might see it on a map or referred to on timetables. This is the main Goldsmiths building. It's a beautiful red brick building, as you can see, and the centre of our campus. And it will be an area that you will be kind of frequenting a lot during your time here at Goldsmiths. What about this one? Any ideas what building this is? It's a good answer, but it's not correct. It's not the Damien Hirst building. It's true that the Fine Arts Department are located in there. Yeah, it is the Ben Pimlott building. Well done, Stony XDS. Yes, this is the Ben Pimlott building. It's another of the large buildings on campus. If you're studying fine arts, it's kind of many of the, much of the department is located there, where there are also offices for computing and psychology. And actually opposite the Ben Pimlott building, there's also our Goldsmith Centre for Contemporary Art, which is our art gallery on campus as well. So do check that out. Finally, this area, anyone want to have an idea what the name is? Yes, the College Green, exactly. So Goldsmiths College Green. This is in the centre of the campus if you haven't visited the campus yet, and gives a really nice green space in the middle of campus and a chance for somewhere to sit when it's sunny, when it's a little bit warmer than it is today, a chance for somewhere to sit. So yeah, right in the middle of campus. So that's just giving you a little introduction to some of our buildings and areas. Here is the college map, which you should be able to get a copy online or potentially at reception as well. It gives you an idea. As you can see, our campus is quite compact, but if you are going onto campus, then do take some time to kind of get to know it and find your way around and try to learn some of the building names in terms of where your lectures may be. Just to give you a bit of an idea of our student community that you're joining, I thought I'd share some statistics on the kind of breakup of the breakdown of the students from last year. We've got a diverse community of over 10,000 students, and as you can see, a real mix of students there. And we're really proud of this diversity and think it brings so much to the university. And as you can see, in terms of international students, there are students from over 100 different countries on our campus. And one thing that we'll be talking about later is that within Goldsmiths, there's a large number of interest groups, religious groups, clubs and societies to get involved in. You're also in London, which is a city that has so many different opportunities and so many different communities. So do take the opportunity to get involved in those opportunities and to kind of find different people to engage with and to kind of be friends with. And as I said already, welcome to this community, and we're really excited to have you. So obviously this term is not completely as normal, and this year has been completely different, unprecedented to anything we've seen before. So I just wanted to take you through a few kind of areas to expect in relation to coronavirus and what to expect kind of on campus and in London. You will have seen a number of emails relating to this already, and just wanted to clarify that campus is open, and we are offering a blended teaching offer online and in person, as you will already know. Please do talk to your departments to kind of, if you haven't kind of got that information already, exactly when you'll be on campus or when you'll be studying online. But that blended mix will allow you to combine with lectures online and also to study in person. There have been thousands of chapters and readings have been put online, and a click and collect kind of option for borrowing printed materials is available as well. And in terms of kind of planning for this term, we have opened campus in line with UK government guidelines. Campus plans are kind of kept under constant review, and there's planning has been taking place over the summer for all the different scenarios that might happen in the coming weeks and months, and we're kind of ready to be flexible and adaptable. But as I said already, for the moment, campus is open, and there will be a delivery of online and in-person teaching as well. So just to give you an idea of the situation on campus, we've got a number of public health measures in place. So we're asking students to maintain social distancing, to try and keep 2 meters apart where possible. There are one-way systems in corridors. We're asking students to wear a mask or face covering when moving around campus. We have hand sanitizer and screens across campus and enhanced cleaning in place. We've changed a few things in terms of the support services. So there's now a live chat, the Student Centre and IT Service Desk, which should make it easier to access. There's lots and lots of useful information on our website around how our offer is being delivered this term, but also things around kind of what the situation is like in campus. There's a video that I urge you to watch around kind of keeping safe on campus and following the rules, and also this area around the rule of 6, this information around the rule of 6 and meeting others. Please do remember as well, if you're staying in campus accommodation, there will be specific rules relating to that, and please do follow them, and be kind and respectful to everyone on campus as well. This is a really tricky time. I know even from from my own personal point of view, that it is, you know, it has an impact on mental health, on kind of anxiety. So please do think about everyone around you and the impact on them. There's also a learning module on the virtual learning environment that's part of Welcome Week that is an introduction to your campus, which includes kind of guidance on some of the areas around social distancing and keeping safe. So please do complete that as well. And as I said already, this website, this web page on our website is really useful and really like the kind of point of all information relating to coronavirus. Just a few things to expect in London and the UK in general. It may be very similar to advice to what you've received in your home countries, but wash your hands regularly. The recommendation is to wash your hands for at least 20 seconds. Cover your face when you're kind of in enclosed spaces, public spaces, and on public transport. So if you go to the shops, you will need a face covering. So make sure you carry one with you at all times. And personally, maybe it's worth also taking hand sanitizer with you if possible as well. And then make space. Stay at least 1 meter, if not 2 meters away from people when you're out and about. And do be, as I said already, be respectful to other people. In terms of daily life, there are regular updates to the rules and regulations, and Goldsmiths is working very closely with Lewisham local authorities, so that's the area around Goldsmiths in terms of those local kind of rules and regulations. But do keep an eye on those. It might be worth following the BBC News, on maybe downloading the BBC News app, or subscribing to some of the local news in terms of Lewisham or Southwark, for example. We do have currently the rule of 6 in London and in the UK, which means that you cannot meet in groups larger than 6 outside or in kind of a pub or a restaurant. Bear that in mind, and you can't go, for example, to a restaurant with a group of 12 and have 2 groups of 6. That's not allowed. So yeah, please do look at the rules, make sure you know them. You'll find in lots of restaurants and kind of cafes and bars that you will only be allowed to have table service. You may have to book in advance, and that's in relation to eating out and kind of food and drink, but it's also in relation to maybe going to the art gallery. I went to the Tate Modern, for example, the other day, and you had to book in advance for that as well. So there's something to bear in mind. And there's a track and trace, lots of track and trace systems in place. So you will have to probably check in to different locations when you arrive at them. Just in terms of things around testing, self-isolation and local lockdowns, if you have symptoms, you can get a free coronavirus test, and you can book a visit to a test site or order a home test kit. So do look on the NHS website around that, and the coronavirus.gov website as well. There's actually a new app that was launched last week, the NHS COVID-19 app, which works with Bluetooth. And it's, I would really recommend downloading it. You can check into places when you're going to a restaurant or a bar, for example. And they also kind of give you updates on the local area. And then if you have come into contact with someone who's tested positive, they would also be able to kind of contact you in relation to that as well. So do download that app, and do, if you have symptoms, please do kind of stay at home, do get a test as soon as you can. So in relation to self-isolation, if you have symptoms, as I said already, you must self-isolate for at least 10 days. And if you're contacted by NHS, test and trace and instructed to self-isolate because you've been in close contact with somebody, you must do so for 14 days as well. I mentioned already a little bit around local lockdowns. The government is identifying local outbreaks at an early stage, so you'll see that in the news at the moment, that different areas of the UK have different measures in place. But this does mean that Lewisham or London could be subjected to local restrictions if there is an outbreak in the area. So again, as I said, do keep an eye on the local news about that. This was quite useful, as I understand that some of you may be quarantining or maybe arriving soon and having to quarantine. I thought this diagram, which is on our website from the government website, is quite useful. So if you're an individual arriving in the UK from abroad with from a country where you are required to quarantine, you must self-isolate for 14 days. And just to say that the rest of your household are not required to self-isolate in that situation. However, as you can see from the third column along person C, if you do begin to get symptoms on day 4, for example, then your household will be required to self-isolate. So I really recommend having a look at this diagram in more detail. It should help explain some of the rules and hopefully clarify a little bit for you. I think now I'm going to hand over to Shannon to take you through the next part of the presentation. And Shannon, if you just let me know when you want me to skip on to the next slide, I can do that.
Yeah, so hi everyone. Yeah, so I'm just going to take you through the next bit of the presentation. So I'll be talking a little bit about Welcome Week and about the Goldsmiths systems that you'll have to use. I guess at this point it's probably quite overwhelming. There's probably quite a few different systems that you've been told to log into and look at. So I'm just going to try and sort of talk you through all of them in one place. So yeah, just to start with Welcome Week, there's lots of stuff going on. So make sure you check out the Welcome Week pages on the website. So that's a really good place to start. It has lots of information, tips, advice about settling in, about getting to grips with campus, all of that kind of stuff. And it's really, really important for you to complete the induction on the VLE as well. I'll talk to you about the VLE a little bit more in a minute. But there's been a little induction that's been put together so to help you understand your campus, your studies and your health. So it's really critical that you go through and complete that when you can. And it's also really important that you attend your department induction session. There are lots that are taking place this week. You can go onto the Welcome Week page and search for your programme or your department using the tool on that page, and it will show you when that takes place. Some of them might have already happened, some of them are happening later this week. If you go and you see that, oh, I've missed it, just contact your department. They'll be more than happy to share the information with you via email. So yeah, if you have missed it, please just reach out. If you don't know how to get in touch with your department, just post in the Q&A and we can provide contact details for that. And also the Students' Union are hosting loads of online events. So I know that probably quite a lot of you will be quarantining at the moment, feeling quite isolated. It's a really good way to sort of get to know people from the comfort of your own bedroom. So you can just, most of them I think you have to book in advance. So just check out their website, see the types of things that they're doing. And yeah, just try and meet other people and make some friends, even if you can't go out in the world yet. Ed, do you want to move to the next slide, please? Yeah, so enrolment, hopefully you should have all enrolled by now. It's okay if you haven't, but you really, really need to do so as soon as possible. Enrolment is how you become a full Goldsmiths student. So until you do it, you're not fully a Goldsmiths student. So you should have received an email invitation asking you to enroll. If you haven't received this, make sure you check your junk email folder because it sometimes can end up in there. And if you still can't find it, drop an email to the Student Centre and they'll be able to resend that to you. So it's just studentcentre@gold.ac.uk. And yes, they'll be able to resend that to you so you can complete that. It's just an online form. They'll need you to upload usually your passport and they might need to see some proof of qualifications as well. So just like scans of your exam certificate or something, or degree certificate or something like that. And yeah, as soon as you've completed your enrolment, you'll be able to book a slot to get your Goldsmiths ID card. And your ID card is really important. It's you're going to need it throughout your whole time at Goldsmiths. some of the buildings on campus you can't get into without your ID card. You won't be able to go into the library without it. You won't be able to pick up your books. If you're doing click and collect from the library and you need to pick up some books, you won't be able to pick those up without your ID card. So it's really important that you keep that. If you lose it, don't worry. You can get another one. You can get a replacement. But yeah, make sure you complete this as soon as you can. Okay, so your Goldsmiths email. Once you've completed your enrolment, you should be sent your Goldsmiths account details. So within 48 hours of completing your enrolment, you should be sent a username and a password for you to log in and do all of that. So you should then get access to your Goldsmiths email account. Your Goldsmiths email is really, really important. It's how a lot of your departments, your lecturers, everyone will contact you using your Goldsmiths email account. So it's, you know, you need to make sure you get to grips with it. You need to make sure that you are set up. You can set up forwarding to your Gmail if you're more comfortable with that. Make sure you set up notifications on your phone, whatever it means for you to make sure that you can see that and you can see your email. You'll have a campus username and password. Your campus username is just the first letter of your first name and the first 4 letters of your surname with a 3-digit number. That's your username, and then you'll have your password as well. So make sure you keep a record of that. Make sure you keep checking your email regularly. If you need help, if you're blocked out of your email, if you don't know how to use it, you can contact the IT services. IT, they usually respond very quickly. You can just email service desk at Gold, and they will help you set up your account. If you're having issues with Wi-Fi as well, there is a page on the website that if you go to the IT area of the website, it will provide you with instructions on how to get on the Wi-Fi. But again, if you're having issues with that, you can contact IT and they can help you with that as well. The Goldsmiths app is a really, really useful resource. So if you can download that, you get it from the App Store or the Google Play Store if you're on Android, and it allows you to access a lot of the things, a lot of the systems, a lot of the resources that you'll need to access all in one place. So you can get your email through it, you can get your timetable through it, you can access the BLE through it. I think you can like book your study space in the library through it. There's a campus map on there. You can get in touch with members of staff that you need to contact through it as well. So it's really helpful just to download that and use that on your phone. So your timetable. Timetabling was completed for the most part on Friday. Some people might not have their timetable yet. Don't panic if you don't. Some departments and some modules still need to be set up. As you can imagine, timetabling has been very difficult this year, having to take into account both in-person and online teaching, as well as sort of taking into account social distancing. So yeah, just be patient with the timetabling. If you can access your timetable, great. So the way you can do that, and this is a shortcut to access a lot of the systems, if you just go to the website, gold.ac.uk, there's a staff and students tab in the top right-hand corner, and that has quick links to everything. So that has quick links to your timetable, quick link to your email, to the BLE, so you can just click on that, get straight to your timetable. You'll have to log in using that campus username and password I mentioned a minute ago, and then you can click on the My Timetable thing on the left-hand side and view timetable at the bottom of the page. You usually have to allow pop-ups. It will come up in a new window. And then, yes, you will be able to see your timetable. It's your personal timetable, so you're allocated to sessions. So a lot of your classes, you'll have seminar groups, and there'll be a variety of seminar groups. If you're living with someone who's on the same program as you, you might be in a different seminar group to them. Some classes there are 4, 5, 6 different seminar groups if they're a big class. Most of the time the departments can't allow you to move seminar groups if you want to go into the earlier one or something like that. They're set up very, very specifically to accommodate social distancing and to accommodate a certain amount of people per class. So when you first look at your timetable, it can be quite confusing. It can be quite difficult to understand. On the timetabling system, there's some links at the bottom, and one of them is a guide to the timetable, so you can click on that and have a quick read through, and it should try and sort of decode a lot of the things that are on your timetable. But just sort of as a brief overview, on your timetable, in each session will explain what it is. So it will say in the box, it will say seminar or lecture or tutorial, something like that. There'll be the room that it's in. If it's in person, it will say online. If it's online, it will have the name of the person who is teaching you. It will have the module name and the module code. And I think that's it on there. Yeah. It also have the week numbers as well. The week numbers can be quite confusing as well. There's a guide to them on the timetable site too. So yeah, just have a look, get to know your timetable. If there are classes missing, if you don't understand, if you don't have a timetable, again, don't panic. You can reach out to your department, and they will be able to help you. They're getting them all set up now. So if you don't have yours yet, it's okay. Some of them just aren't ready yet. But if you are worried, just reach out to your department. Again, if you need the contact details, just post in the Q&A and we can help with that. Okay, so the BLE, which I've mentioned quite a lot, this is the Goldsmiths virtual learning environment. So it's referred to as the virtual learning environment, as the BLE, as learn.gold. So if someone says any of those things, it's all referring to this one system. I guess some of you who are postgraduate students perhaps have used something similar in the past. You may have used something with Canvas. So this is very similar to that. It's essentially a platform where all of your modules are. So you can log in, you'll have a dashboard, and you'll have a page for each of your modules. And on that page, it will have information about your readings, about your assessment, about tasks that you need to do. There'll be a forum where you can discuss with your classmates. Your lecturer might post information on there as well. So it's really, really critical that you get to know the BLE quite early on in your Goldsmiths experience. You have reading to do for each week. You might have some tasks to do. You might have a presentation to look at, something like that, for each of your modules for each week. So yeah, if you haven't looked at this already, look at it now. You should have all of your, you should have a page for each module that you're enrolled in. Again, if they're not all there yet, it's okay, don't panic. It takes a bit of time to get this all set up. Some lecturers are still working on their pages, so they're still putting together their pages, so they haven't been published yet. But again, if you're concerned, just get in touch with your department and they'll be able to help. Each department also has an office page on the BLE as well, which you can search for and you can join. This office page usually just has your program handbook, a bit of information about your course. It might have a list of the lecturers and their contact details and their office hours on there as well. So yeah. Ed, you're going to need to go back to the slideshow. And I think now I'm handing over to Jack.
Hi everyone, thank you very much, Shannon. And yes, I'm Jack Selby, Global Opportunities Officer here at Goldsmiths. Yeah, I'm going to take you through the next few slides of the presentation. So we're going to look a little bit more at your studies, and in particular your studies at Goldsmiths, and I suppose in a wider sense your studies at a UK university, and how that might differ to other universities around the world, particularly if you're here as an Erasmus student or a study abroad student. It may be slightly different to what you're used to back at home. So at Goldsmiths, the way that you'll be taught in terms of with an academic will be in lectures or seminars or in workshops. So the way in which I think of it, and the way certainly in which when I was a student this kind of ran, was lectures would be you're in a big room and you have a kind of an academic, your lecturer at the front of the room, teaching in a standard way, kind of not too dissimilar to the way that we were taught in school. Obviously, for this coming term, it's likely that that will actually be online. So it'll be very much your lecture talking, and you're there more to absorb the information. Obviously, you can still ask questions, but it's probably less of a kind of collaborative approach to teaching. And then in seminars, this would be more sort of group work. So there would be an academic there kind of guiding the seminar, but you'd be working in groups to answer questions or find things out. And it would be much more kind of student-led and much more collaborative. Workshops, again, this is a similar thing. I don't know if workshops as well, I maybe think more of the kind of creative subjects, your design, music and fine art programs, but again they'll be quite similar to seminars in that there'll be more collaboration. So obviously the coronavirus is an ever-changing kind of situation, and while it would appear that with winter on its way it's unlikely to get better anytime soon, for the time being at least what we know is that lectures are going to be online, and these will be done via Zoom or via Microsoft Teams once you'll have your Goldsmiths login. The way in which these will work will be very much, you'll basically be sent a link to sign up to view the lecture, and you'll have an academic there talking in a very similar way to what we're doing now. You'll be able to see and hear, and you'll be able to ask questions as well, but it will be very much mainly sort of focused around listening. I say all lectures. It is possible that some of you may be here doing very niche masters, which have very small numbers of students within that masters, and you may still be taught in lectures if the number of students that are doing that masters is, 4 or 5, allowing for the rule of 6 to kind of work. Seminars, and again this can vary from department to department, but I know that the plan is to do some seminars and some workshops in person. Again, this is entirely down to your department and their ability to get kind of study space for students and an academic to be somewhere without breaking kind of social distancing, without breaking the rule of 6 where possible and things like that. So in general, the way I'm looking at this term, or at least the kind of coming couple of months, will be lectures will be online, seminars and workshops will be in person where possible. In terms of assessments, you can have, I suppose, formative and summative assessments, which really, again, I would say what we're talking about is assessments that are going to count towards your overall grade for the module, and then assessments that aren't going to count towards your overall grade for the module, and are more there just to guide the academics to see how the class is doing, to see who needs kind of particular help and things like that. In terms of assessments at Goldsmiths, you will likely be assessed either in terms of delivering a presentation, or in terms of submitting an essay or some sort of written assignment. And then, of course, examinations. So examinations, generally, we have an exam period, which is kind of at the end of the academic year in the summertime. And these would traditionally be done in person in the Richard Hogarth building in the Great Hall. Hopefully things are in a better position come the summer holidays come the summer term, and we'll be able to do that again. But if not, there will be delivered, I think, virtually again. But yeah, we can talk more about that nearer the time. Now, I mentioned at the beginning the way in which study works in the United Kingdom. I think that what I've learned from doing this job for a few years now is I think there's a lot more independent study in UK institutions than maybe there is in other parts of the world. So what that means is that the time that you spend in your lectures, your seminars, your workshops is only almost a small portion of the time that you're supposed to be studying. There's lots of independent study that's expected and kind of wanted from you by your lecturers and your department. So this means if you're given a reading list, or you're given some summative assessment via the VLE, it's very much expected that you do the pre-reading, because when you go to next week's lecture or next week's seminar, you're going to find that that's actually based around the pre-reading. So yeah, do try and stay on top of all of the pre-reading that you're given by your academic department. You'll be asked for feedback at various points throughout the academic year, or indeed throughout the term if you're just with us for a term. Do please give that. That will allow Goldsmiths to ensure that they're delivering the best quality education that they can. You will also be given feedback by your department, by your academics. Really that would, I think, be in terms of your assessment. And as we mentioned, some of the assessment that you'll do will not be counting towards your overall grade, but will allow your academic department to perhaps encourage you or push you in the direction that's going to improve your outcomes here at Goldsmiths. Plagiarism is always quite a tricky thing to explain. So I would say, I think if we've not spoken about it already, we'll talk about the Academic Skills Centre at some point during this presentation. But something that's really good to get your head around early on is how you go about referencing within an essay. So it's not difficult to do, and what you're really doing is quoting something that supports your argument, or that you're going to base your argument upon. But it's important that you reference in the correct way to avoid any kind of plagiarism accusations or controversy. So do be sure to kind of get on top of your referencing early on, and there'll be plenty of kind of guidance around that from your academic departments and from the Academic Skills Centre if you have any burning desire to kind of get in touch with them early on. But yeah, referencing is something that I would highlight to all new students, almost regardless of level, is something that's really important to get on top of early on. And yeah, there's a module on this in your student induction. Great. In terms of support, there is obviously lots of different support that's available to students at Goldsmiths. As international students, which I think probably the bulk of the attendees here now will be, your department's going to give you a personal tutor. This is a valuable asset for you all, so I would really recommend that you take advantage of having your own personal tutor. You can meet with them to discuss academic and personal issues. Depending on who the tutor is and your own personal preferences, that may be virtually initially, but it's still really valuable for you to talk to them and get their feedback. Each academic tutor will normally have 2 to 4 hours of office hours each week. This is the period of time when they're available for you to speak to them. Do please make the most of that time. You can check on the VLE or the department office for this information, so to find out when those office hours are, and of course you can also email your personal tutor. For those of you watching the presentation that are study abroad students, you have what's called an International Liaison Officer, or ILO. They're the main contact for all study abroad students within the academic department. You can go to them with any academic issues and questions that you have. If you're unsure whether it's a question for them or for the Global Opportunities team, so myself, Ed and Shannon, do feel free to ask us, and if we're unable to help you, we can point you in the direction of your ILO. For the Erasmus students, you have a similar departmental representative, which is the Erasmus Academic Coordinator, or EAC. So they're also your main contact in your department. Again, they can help you with academic issues and questions, and of course also your learning agreement. So in terms of ensuring that you're selecting modules that are appropriate for your studies. Thank you, Ed. Yes, I referenced the Academic Skills Centre earlier. I was thinking of this as, yeah, something that was probably a place that would be able to help you with referencing, but obviously there's a great deal more that they can offer you. You can book in one-to-one sessions to discuss your work with an expert. You can also find out information on the online resources you can access as a Goldsmiths student there, and we have a link to the particular webpage there. So yeah, again, do get in touch with them if you're having issues. The library, I know Shannon mentioned earlier. I've been at Goldsmiths for 6.5 years, and I don't think I've ever said Rutherford Building, so I think I would just call it the library, but that's its official name. We're reopening the library. I think as of now, it has been open. I had a look at the kind of current guidance on it earlier, and so I think the gist is that you can go to the library at the moment to either work alone, so I think you have to book ahead to book your own study space, and you can also go and collect your textbooks or any other books that you'd like to collect, to help you with your work or your pre-reading. But in terms of going in there to do group work, at the moment, because of the coronavirus situation, that's not going to be possible. Hopefully that won't last for too long, obviously, but I think further down the line, that will be something you'll be able to do. You'll be able to go and do your group work in there, or even just go in there and work on separate things with friends. So yeah, in terms of click and collect, at the moment you can reserve up to 5 items online through the library search. You'll receive confirmation when your items are ready, and then you go in and collect the items at the side of the library. You need to show your confirmation email and your student card at the point you go to make the collection, and this function is going to be available Monday to Friday, 11 till 2 p.m. And then to return them again, to avoid too much contact with other people, you're taking them to the drop box at the front of the library, again, Monday to Friday, but you can do that from 9 a.m. till 5 p.m. If the drop box is not accessible, you can take them to the security team at RHB, which is just inside RHB, and then if you take a right, you'll see a kind of security hatch there. Or indeed, you can post books back to the library, and you have the address just there. Yeah, if you wanted to book a study space in the library, you can do so between 9 and 1 Monday to Friday, and also 2 and 6 Monday to Friday. You're only able to book individual spaces at the moment. There's PCs, Macs, assistive technology, or space within the digital media suite. So yeah, just for now, the group spaces are unavailable. Again, you receive a confirmation email and need to show that on your student card at the point that you arrive. Thanks, Ed. Great. And as international students, Erasmus students, study abroad students, for some of you, English may not be your first language. While of course you've all had to pass IELTS exams or TOEFL or whatever it is these days, you may still feel that you could benefit from English language support during your time at Goldsmiths. Luckily for you, we have a centre for that. So the Centre for Academic Language and Literacies offers free in-sessional academic language development modules to students at Goldsmiths. So if you're concerned, maybe you go to your first lecture or your first seminar and you struggle to kind of keep pace, or you struggle to communicate what it is that you're trying to say, the English Language Centre would be a good place for you to go, because you can go along and brush up on your English skills in a kind of academic setting, and getting your head around academic English as well, because I understand that can often be a bit of a leap from more kind of casual English. Yeah, as I say, this is for students whose first language isn't English, and will help you develop your language and study skills in line with the academic tasks you will face on your programme. Okay, the Student Centre, again, the Student Centre I think currently isn't really available for drop-ins, but for now, the live chat function is available, and you can see a link there at the bottom right of this slide. And just to say, in case anyone's kind of frantically writing everything down, maybe I should have mentioned this earlier, but we are going to send out the PowerPoint recording, or the recording of this presentation, to all of you who have signed up to the presentation. So yeah, don't feel that you need to be writing everything down right now. In terms of what you can find out at the Student Centre, this is very much the kind of one-stop shop for any and all queries that you have. You can go along there for general advice, specific advice on fees, whether that's payments of fees or restructuring payments of fees, anything like that. Enrolment as well, that's where you'd go if you had questions on that. Disability, it's Disability at Gold. Wellbeing, you can pop into Student Centre, email address is also there. They also house assessments, and they'll have someone from housing there as well that's also available to talk to you. Yeah, for now, while it is live, at the point that you're able to physically go back in, you can find the Student Centre in the Richard Horrocks building, room 117. Also available to you at Goldsmiths, we have a multi-faith chaplaincy. This is not necessarily specific to any one religion. Well, yeah, as the name says, it's multi-faith. So you can go along and speak to someone there, and they'll provide you with confidential pastoral care to everyone, regardless of religious beliefs or tradition. You can find the prayer room as well in RHB 2.106, which is a very strange room number, but it's you can find it. It's on the second floor as you go into the Richard Horrocks building. It's on the right, and yeah, at the moment there's currently in reduced online service, but you can contact chaplaincy at gold.ac.uk, and a member of the team will be in touch with you if you'd like to talk to anyone from the multi-faith chaplaincy at the moment. Okay, also at Goldsmiths, we have the Student Union. As I think was mentioned earlier in the presentation, the Student Union is doing a lot of events for Welcome Week. Pop onto their website, which is being pointed out there, if you'd like to sign up for anything like that. Available in the Student Union traditionally, but I think probably not at the moment, we have the bar, which is called The Stretch. During the day, it operates also as a cafe and has quite nice coffee and things like that in there. And it operates as a venue as well. They do tons of cool stuff in there. You have kind of karaoke nights, bands playing. I've been to quizzes there. Lots of good fun, yeah. They've got a pool table and stuff like that in there. It's a good place. The Student Union also runs Goldsmiths Nursery, which is kind of back and to the left behind the Richard Horrocks building. The Student Union are able to offer you advice, particularly if you have an issue that maybe you feel uncomfortable talking to your academic department about. The Student Union is there to kind of represent you, so you can go along and speak to them, and they'll give you, free, impartial representation and advice. The Student Union also house all of Goldsmiths sports teams, so I know certainly rugby, hockey, football. I think the women's football team at Goldsmiths is, like really, really good. And I think either last year or the year before, they won every match they had and won sports team of the year and all of these sorts of things. So if you'd like to get involved with any of the sports, do have a look on the Student Union's website, and you'll be able to find out who the kind of captain is and see what's going on now in terms of, are they training at the moment? Is it being done in a kind of socially distanced way? But yeah, again, have a look on the website. They also have events that they organise and host, and liberation groups. Again, if you're keen, you can have a look at the Student Union to join up those. And you have the societies as well there. I think we've got some of the most famous ones here. Hacksmiths, which is the computing society. Smiths Magazines is Goldsmiths Magazine. Chocolate Society, Debating Society. Drama Anthropology. Wired Radio is a really cool one. And Gold Reel Acting and Filmmaking. You can see a little picture of the SU's kind of balcony there. So that's outside of the stretch bar that you're able to see just there on the top right. Thanks, Ed.
I think this is back to me now. Thanks very much, Jack. So the next section, I'm just going to outline a few things, and we hope that there won't be things that go wrong or that there won't be issues, but you never know during the year. So just want to make sure that you can get the right support that you need during your time here at Goldsmiths. So if you're in accommodation and if you're in our kind of campus accommodation and there's an issue, please do read the welcome booklet and have a look at the room inventory. And if you have any problems, then report them to the estates team. So there's an email address, estates@gold.ac.uk, or there's a phone number there as well. And make sure you report those as soon as something happens. Our colleagues in estates and accommodation are really good at resolving issues, but they really need to know when there is something wrong. So please do contact them if there is a problem. In terms of kind of fees, enrolment, letters to prove you're a student, that kind of thing, then contact the student centre that Jack's already talked about. I think it will be open to drop into as well as term starts. Shannon's already mentioned kind of issues with IT and printing and Wi-Fi, service desk at gold.ac.uk. And if you have academic issues, then contact your department or talk to your tutor. And there is also, as Jack already mentioned, the student union who can support with issues as well. Just a few things in terms of safety on campus. We have a security team that's on campus 24 hours who are there to kind of provide safety protection and advice and guidance as well. You'll see them around campus. You can email them using that email address or using the phone. You can contact them by phone as well, and they're just inside the Richard Hogarth building on the right. There's also the campus support officers who provide out-of-hours support for absolutely anything there. You know, they're there for kind of a lot of pastoral care outside of hours. So 7 days a week, 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. They're based in the Loring Hall Management Centre, and they're fantastic. So do get in touch with them. Even if you're in halls and you just kind of feel like a chat or need some support, then especially at this time, then do give them. Get in touch, and I believe they're providing additional kind of support during the quarantine period as well for students. Something that isn't very nice to bring up, but is important to raise, discrimination and harassment. I really hope that this does not happen to you while you're here at Goldsmiths, but I just want to state that it is unacceptable. And if you do experience this, then please do seek support. So there are a couple of areas. So around sexual harassment or kind of sexual violence or things like that, we have a website called Report and Support, where you can kind of report issues either confidentially, kind of anonymously, or you can kind of go into more detail if you want to. Goldsmiths is also a hate crime reporting centre. So for example, if you were a victim of racism or you saw someone kind of committing racism, then please do report it at the student centre at gold.ac.uk or over the phone. Do appreciate that these are like really kind of sensitive issues, and so you know if you were to experience this and needed support, then we have a wellbeing team who can provide both initial support if you needed advice and guidance on how to report something like that, or also ongoing support in terms of counselling. As I mentioned, the campus support officers as well, kind of available there for that support. Academic tutors, the Students' Union. There's a number of different websites on our wellbeing page that are offering external support. For example, the Samaritans provide kind of on kind of over the phone guidance. Within the Student Union, we also have active bystanders program where students can be there to provide support for students as well. The main thing to say, I guess, is that I want to get across is that please, if this does happen, do tell somebody and do seek support. You know, we want you to have a positive experience here in the UK and at Goldsmiths, and it's really important to share if something like this happens, because it's not acceptable. Just some things for staying safe in London in general. 999 is our emergency number, or 112 does also work as well. 111 is a number that you'll see probably a lot in relation to coronavirus support. It's basically for medical help, not necessarily an emergency, but if you can't get through to the doctor or if you're trying to talk to somebody about coronavirus, then 111 is a good medical number to call. And 101 should give you access to the local police station as well. So Goldsmiths, it would be the Lewisham area. London is a big city. We just kind of encourage you to be vigilant, you know, especially at night. If you're traveling around at night, do be careful. Do talk to other students in the local area or locals in general about which areas of London are kind of safer or not safe. Do kind of do your research in terms of that. And also something to bear in mind is do keep key documents in different places. This is more from a visiting student's point of view, that we have had students who have kind of gone away for the weekend somewhere with their passport, with all of their credit cards, and had them stolen, and then not been able to kind of organize new versions. So a suggestion is to kind of keep your key documents in different places. You know, a large number of students here in London, and people here in London have an incident-free experience. It is a friendly city, but just as I mentioned already, just be vigilant and be careful, as in any large city. In terms of healthcare, here in the UK, we have a National Health Service, which is there to provide kind of health advice and support for the population. So one thing we would strongly advise you to do as soon as possible is to register with a GP, so that you can access that that provision if you're eligible, and you can do so at our local doctor's surgery, which is Amersham Vale. The Amersham Vale Health Centre is just by New Cross Station. It's very close to campus, and at the moment they're actually doing online registration. So we've got it at the end of this presentation as something that you should do, a kind of immediate checklist. But do register online with your GP, with the GP, so that you have access to that. Something to bear in mind as well is that pharmacies here in the UK can also offer medical advice and guidance as well. So if you can't get a doctor's appointment for whatever reason, or you haven't managed to register yet, and you do need some medical kind of advice, then pharmacies could provide that as well. And there are a number of pharmacies in New Cross. Something to bear in mind is if you are experiencing coronavirus symptoms, please do not go directly to the GP or to the pharmacy. You could call the GP potentially, or call 111, as I've already mentioned. And dentists, it might be an idea to register with the dentist as well. You do generally have to pay something towards dental costs, but it's worth registering now, whereas before you have a problem. And then on our website, in the wellbeing pages, we also have information on local healthcare, so please do check that out. I think I appreciate we have been talking for a while, so maybe we could just take a 3 to 4 minute break for people to go to the loo if they need to. Jack, maybe you can provide a song. I'll pause the recording, and then we'll come back in maybe 3 to 4 minutes with the next part of the presentation. Please don't go anywhere. We've got a really interesting Q&A with our student advisors, Temi and Adja, and we'll be giving you some guidance on travel around London as well as some kind of tips on how to deal with homesickness. But just appreciate you've been listening for an hour. So yeah, take a moment, grab a drink, have a cup of tea, go to the toilet, and then yeah, we'll have a top tune on for you for the next 4 to 5 pressure Jack, and back in a minute.
Right, so yeah, I'm just going to give you some quick travel tips, just to kind of help you get around London once you've finished isolating, if you're still locked away in your rooms. So if you're living on Goldsmiths campus, or you're travelling into campus, we've got 2 train stations close by. One's New Cross and one's New Cross Gate. And from both of these stations, you can get on the London Overground, and you can get a National Rail train as well. So from New Cross Gate to London Bridge, it's only 10 minutes. It's really, really quick. It's just one stop on a National Rail train. There are often engineering works, or lots of kind of station closures and things like that happen particularly at the weekends. So before you travel, we always recommend you just check your route. So I use Citymapper, but you can also use Google Maps, just to make sure that everything is how you expect it to be. It's also advisable to try and avoid peak times. So in the morning and in the evening. Things are a little bit different at the moment, just because a lot of people are still working from home. But it's still recommended that you try and avoid the peak times as much as possible. It's also more expensive to travel in the peak time as well. So if you want to save a bit of money, it's best just to travel sort of in the middle of the day. And if you're going on escalators and the tubes at the train stations, always stand on the right. Londoners get very annoyed when people stand on the left on escalators. So it's just one of those things to bear in mind. Next slide, please, Ed. So this is just a little map to just get you a bit orientated to where you are. So Goldsmiths is in the bottom right of your screen. We're in southeast London. So as you can see here, you can get on a train, go straight to London Bridge, or you can get on the overground, and that takes you right up to Shoreditch in 15 minutes. And Shoreditch is kind of where all the cool people hang out. So if you want to be where all their hipsters are, you can go to Shoreditch. And yeah, from London Bridge you can pretty much get anywhere you want to be in London. So it's a really great station to be close to. If you're living in Quantum Court, if you're in Shadwell, that's on the overground as well, so you're a couple of stops away from Shoreditch. So it's just a really easy journey down to New Cross Gate as well. Yeah, next slide please, Ed. And yeah, this is the tube map. You've probably seen it before. It can look quite overwhelming if you're new to London, but you'll get to grips with it really quickly. All of the different colours and the different lines are all just different tube lines. So we're in those two stations in the circle, they're New Cross Gate and New Cross. So we're on the orange line, which is the overground. And yeah, that can take you all the way up into North London, up to Highbury and Islington. And then you can change at Canada Water if you want to get the Jubilee line. You can get that over to Canary Wharf, or you can go to the O2. And a really easy way to get into central London is just to go to London Bridge and go from there. So the tube map only shows you the trains that are on the London Underground network. If the trains, like I mentioned earlier, the one straight train to London Bridge, the National Rail, that isn't on this map. That's a different thing, but yeah, they're separate. So just if you're confused, the National Rail trains are separate to the tube network. It's advised everyone gets an Oyster card. So if you haven't got one already, you can get one from a station, or you can order it online. If you're doing your full degree here, you can get a student Oyster card. If you're just here for a term, so if you're studying abroad in Erasmus and just here for a term, unfortunately you can't get an Oyster card because you have to be enrolled, I think, for a minimum of 14 weeks. But if you are here living in London now for a year, or for the 3 years, or however long, you can get your student Oyster card, but you must get that online. With all Oyster cards, you can top them up at every station. You can also top them up online. We have news agents as well where you can top them up. But also, if you have a contactless bank card, a contactless payment card, you can use that instead of an Oyster card. But the most important thing is just to remember to tap in at the start of your journey and tap out at the end. So this is true for the tube, the trains, and for the boat as well. And then the Oyster card is only valid within London. So if you're traveling outside of London, you'll need to buy a ticket, which you can do at a machine at a station. For the buses, buses are, in my opinion, probably the best way to get around London because they are cheap. It's £1.50 for a journey on the bus, however long. You can stay on the bus for 3 hours and it will cost you £1.50. And we have a really extensive bus network as well. So, and there are loads and loads of buses that go through New Cross. They can get you right into Soho, into central London. It takes you right to Trafalgar Square, to Oxford Street as well. You can get a bus right from outside the front of Goldsmiths. It takes you all the way there. With the bus, you just need to tap in when you board. You don't need to tap out. So yeah, just when you get on at the front of the bus, you just tap in, and then you don't need to tap out. Another thing that makes the bus lovely and cheap as well is the hopper fare. So you can get 2 separate journeys on the bus for the price of one if you travel within a 1 hour period. So if you tap in one bus and then you change onto another bus and you tap in there, it will still just cost you £1.50. And yeah, I know that probably quite a few of you can't get out and explore just yet, but when you can, there are loads of really cool things to do around by campus. Peckham and Greenwich and Deptford are all really close by to New Cross. And they're all very different, but they're all really cool places to go and hang out. Greenwich is one of my favourite places in London. Greenwich Park is amazing, it's really incredible. I really recommend walking up to the observatory, and you can get one of the best views of London from there. So when you can get out and about, definitely go check that out. Deptford is really close by. It's a 10-minute walk. There are little bars and restaurants. There's a market in Deptford. There's always sort of different cool things going on, and similarly with Peckham as well. And then when you're bored of the local area, you can explore central London. I love walking along the South Bank, Spitalfields Market and Brick Lane. Brick Lane does amazing bagels, and there are lots of great Indian food restaurants, so you can get really good curries on Brick Lane as well. And obviously lots of museums and galleries. Pretty much every museum and gallery in London is free. Some of them obviously you do have to pay for, but most of them are free. So I think now, obviously due to COVID, a lot of the time you'll need to book a slot, but yeah, it's still, you can book and you can go along, and it's a great sort of cheap day out if you're on a budget. And then Greater London as well, there's some things that you can do that maybe take a bit longer, a bit more travel time. But Eltham Palace, which is in Eltham, which is even more southeast London than New Cross. So you can get a bus from campus that takes you there. I really recommend that. It's a really weird and wonderful place. Kew Gardens, it might be really nice to walk around Kew Gardens in the autumn when all the leaves are changing colour. And then if you're into Harry Potter, things like that, Warner Brothers Studio Tour is also worth checking out. Okay, so now I'm going to ask Adja and Tani to unmute themselves. Thank you both for joining us today. We really appreciate you having sparing the time to come and talk to us. So Adja is a BA History of Art student. She's just starting her 3rd year. And Temi is doing a BA Sociology, and is just starting her 2nd year. So we're just kind of going to have a bit of a chat about the different recommendations they've got for things to do on campus, for settling in, for making friends, just to try and give you guys a bit of advice and to help you adjust to your time here. So yeah, the first thing I was going to ask you guys about is what did you do to settle in? How did you make friends? Do you have any recommendations for what these guys can do, particularly given the current sort of situation with the lack of sort of in-person social events?
Hi. So I think for me, the easiest thing to do is, I guess, join societies. It really helps, like when you're meeting new people, I mean, even though it's all going to be online, it still is a really great way to like socialize. And obviously, you know, if you've come back to halls, then you get to meet like your flatmates and other people in the building as well. A lot of the halls, they organize like social events, like on a weekly basis. So that's quite nice as well. But yeah, I think it's really worth looking at the SU website to see what societies you're interested in and the different kind of clubs which are there. Like there's sports clubs as well. So if you play a sport, you can join those as well. And you can even start your own society. Like the SU gives you funding, and it's quite fun. And there are like other activities around campus all the time. Like there's the Gold Award scheme, which is really interesting to join. It's like a 1-year like personal and professional development course, which really enables you to like attend a lot of like professional workshops and everything. So there is like quite a bit which is going on. But I think the easiest way to start would be to join some societies on the SU website.
Thanks, Adja. Temi, do you have anything to add?
I would definitely agree. Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. So yeah, I would definitely agree. Joining societies is definitely the best way to make friends. I would definitely recommend joining a society that you're specifically interested in. So for example, if you're interested in tech, there's Hacksmiths. If you're interested in debating, there's debating. If you're interested in sport, there's sport. If you're living in accommodation, it's very easy to kind of make friends with the people that you're with, you know, especially during this time. Even though you're in lockdown, there's definitely going to be opportunities for you to get to know each other really well. And I would definitely recommend checking out all the various online events that are happening, because even though they aren't in person, they're still just as fun. So yeah.
Great, thanks guys. Next thing I was going to ask you is a little bit more about studying, because I think for a lot of people on the webinar today, the amount of independent studying that will be expected of them will probably be quite different to what they're used to. So do you have any advice on how to manage your time? How do you deal with your independent study? How do you deal with managing your workload, particularly if you've got a job as well? How do you balance studying and working at the same time?
I would say for me, it's really important to kind of be ahead. So I'm sure a lot of you will be getting your timetables. For me, it's good for me to know when my lectures and seminars are, and to essentially kind of do the readings a week in advance so that I don't have to worry about doing them last minute. I would also say constantly check in with your personal tutor. They're really helpful and useful when it comes to just speaking about your course, any issues that you might have. There is so much support. You've got like the academic skills service, there's like pastoral support, there's even a course on the VLE that can help you with things like essay writing and time management. So I would definitely just say take advantage of all of the services that are available, and be realistic with your time. That's one thing I would say, having worked a part-time job last year, is to just be realistic about what you can and can't say yes to. And, you know, make sure you also give yourself time to have fun, because that's really important.
I think I definitely like agree with Tammy. It is really important to only like take on as much as you can. And in terms of like independent study, it is very different from high school. Like when I came here, I was actually shocked by the amount of like independent study that goes on. And I think it's really great to like sort of make a timetable for yourself along with your lecture timetable as well. And the other thing is, in terms of part-time jobs, it's really helpful to like do a weekend one sometimes, because then that gives you like the entire week to actually focus on your reading and writing practice. And then, you know, be it once a week or twice a week, I think like is really helpful to like do it over the weekend. Like since the last 3 years, I've been doing part-time jobs, and I've actually been making sure that I do it over the weekend, because that gives me a chance to like really spend time at uni with the reading and everything, because reading does take a lot of time. There's a question from JT. Are part-time jobs available this year? Yeah, there are always part-time job opportunities available. Goldsmiths has a really good career service which could help you find one. There are a couple of jobs available at uni as well. And I'm not sure if there might be too many in-person jobs available, but there are a lot of online jobs as well. Like you could sign up for online tutoring and stuff like that. But yeah, do have a look at the Goldsmiths Careers website. You can book slots with them, and they are really, really helpful, and they'll help you find the kind of job you're looking for. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that's really good advice. Definitely take advantage of the career service. You can, as Adja says, you can book appointments with them. You can do a CV check with them. So if you've got your CV or resume, you can book an appointment where you can go through that with them. In terms of part-time jobs offered by Goldsmiths, there are usually student ambassador roles recruited in October, but given obviously the current situation, I'm not sure if that will be taking place this year, but just keep an eye out with your emails for that. And there are also often part-time jobs available through the Students' Union. So have a look on their website. Again, I'm not sure if they have jobs at this point, but they usually recruit for roles in the student shop and in the bar and in the cafe, but obviously given the situation that might be different this year. Yeah, so just going to ask you guys now about New Cross and about things to do in New Cross and on campus. Are there things in particular that you enjoy doing? Are there particular cafes you like to hang out at to get your work done? And favorite things to do on campus?
Not to sound, oh, sorry, you go ahead.
Sorry. Actually, you can go first.
Okay. Yeah, I think for me, okay, not to sound too studious, but like the library is a great space to hang out, because they have like a social area, and there's like a cafe and stuff as well. So if you're studying, you could go to the quiet area, but then if you want to hang out with a couple of friends, the social area downstairs is quite nice. Obviously, given the current situation, it might be a bit different. Like they do have bookable spaces, so if you do find it easier to study at the library, it's quite a nice place to go there. But the SU is also a really nice place. It's like it's the building right next to the Richard Hoggart. I can't exactly remember the directions, but it's just like a couple of minutes walk. And they also have like a really nice social space. In particular, there's a room called the Liberation Room, where you can just, you know, sit there, hang out with your friends, make a cup of coffee. And they sometimes have like really cool workshops and events going on as well. So yeah, I think Goldsmiths campus is really diverse, has a lot of places to explore, and you can do so much around the area. I've been staying in New Cross for 3 years, and I think it's just such a lovely place to be. And yeah.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with Adja. I definitely spend a lot of time in the library. It used to be open, I think, for 24 hours, but I don't think that's the case anymore. I would also, in terms of New Cross, like if you're quite close to campus, there are lots of like cool pubs and cafes and restaurants. I would also recommend checking out Peckham if you can. There are loads of cool bars and cafes that do like live music events. And I would generally say that the area is quite diverse, and you're definitely going to meet a lot of really cool and interesting people. And so I think the events will naturally, in person or online, they'll naturally find you. I'll say that.
Cool. Yeah, I think that yeah, I definitely think that it's really good for you to just explore. Make sure you get to know campus, even if you don't have a lot of face-to-face teaching this term. Really, just spend some time wandering around, get familiar with campus, and just make yourself feel comfortable and at home, as well as the local area. You know, things are still open. There are cafes and the pubs are still open. So just, you know, get to know the community and get to know this where you're living, because that really does help if you start to feel a bit isolated, just to feel like where you are is your home. And yeah, finally, I was just going to ask you guys about virtual study, because obviously everyone on this webinar will be participating in online learning. For some people, it might be the first time they're participating in online learning. So how did you guys find that at the end of last term in the spring? How did that go? What advice do you have for the people who will be starting that this year?
So I actually went back home when online learning started last semester because of coronavirus, and obviously, like, the biggest challenge was the time difference, but I think the best way to tackle that, because I'm pretty sure there are some people who are still like in their home countries, but the best way to like tackle that would be to, you know, either set alarms and stuff. And if it does end up being too late, then I'm sure that the department would be recording those sessions and you can watch them at your convenience. It is obviously quite different from in-person learning, but like, pretty much like try to treat it the same way you would if you were studying in person. Like, you know, do your reading beforehand and answer any questions you have during the session. Like the lecturers try to adapt it to in-person learning as much as they can. Like, it's very interactive, and you will potentially also have like one-on-one sessions with lecturers, and I think those are really helpful, where you can really talk about your work in depth and make the most of it, basically. And you'll always have like your personal tutor as well. If you have any questions or any problems, you can always just contact them and schedule a meeting, because they're super helpful. And this term, because the department is more prepared with online learning, it's going to be a much better experience. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it as well.
I would say for me, it was definitely a change, but I think the only difference was that it was a lot harder to obtain, because I do like a essay writing subject. It was a lot harder for me to obtain reading and accessing the library. So I guess tips would be become familiarized with online services. So the library will provide links because we couldn't physically access the library, they provided online links to books. I would say become familiar with, you know, digital kind of journal spaces like JSTOR or like VLE Books, places where you can obtain your readings. And I would also say that just remain organized. I think the benefit, in a weird way, because I couldn't go anywhere, all I had to do was study. So I would just say, and I actually think that this online learning method, it makes it so much easier to contact your lecturers and your seminar tutors, because they will be expecting you to be emailing them, and they will be very vigilant with their responses. So don't you know, feel like you can't speak to anyone, because they are very quick to respond. So yeah, there's that.
Yeah, and just to emphasize that as well, like if you are having issues with the online learning, with anything, just make sure you talk to someone, make sure you reach out to your lecturer, make sure you reach out to wellbeing if you need to, just make sure you let someone know. So if you can't hear the lecturer over the Zoom recording or whatever, just talk. I think it's inevitable that there will be some kinds of like technical glitches and things like that, especially at the start of term while things are just being worked out. But yeah, if you have trouble, just get in touch, make sure you reach out. And as Temi says, people will get back to you. Yeah, so I think that was everything I was going to ask you. So thank you both so much for being part of this and for sharing your advice and your perspectives. It's been really, really helpful. And yeah, so now I think I pass back over to Jack.
Thanks very much, Shannon. And thank you, Ed. Yes, so last bit from me, we are coming close to the end, so do bear with us. There's still some important information for us to share with you guys, and yeah, I appreciate you giving up so much time on your Wednesday afternoon. So yeah, what we're going to look at now is adapting when you arrive, I suppose at the moment physically or virtually, to Goldsmiths, to a new university. So we have here on the right hand side I suppose a graph of adjustment. So this is the kind of typical way that people deal with adjusting to a new experience, or in this case a new university, which for the vast majority of you will also mean a new country. So at the point that you arrive, you will experience what's known as the honeymoon period. That may not quite be the case this year with the coronavirus, probably impacting people's ability to truly enjoy the honeymoon periods. But generally that would be the time you're making, lots of new friends, meeting new people. Maybe you're meeting them virtually now. If you've moved into a flat, be that in halls or just a flat with other students off campus. This is generally a period of kind of lots of excitement and things like that. What tends to happen then is after the first couple of weeks, you may find that you're experiencing some culture shock. I would say also from my experience kind of traveling, you maybe might feel a bit homesick. Certainly when I was away, I think I began to miss kind of my family and my friends a little bit. But over time, and then you kind of push through that period, you'll begin to adjust to your new surroundings, both in terms of your physical surroundings and the people that you're with. And you begin to really build strong, lasting friendships and relationships with people. And then, yeah, you'll begin, I believe, to feel happier and better in your new environment. And as the graph shows us at the end, you become a master of it, and it's becomes a home from home. But yeah, in terms of coping with homesickness, I think I know that a lot of this has been covered already, but I think in terms of networking, both build your new network. So if that's other students that are doing the same degree or master's or PhD as you, or indeed flatmates or people that you've met at Welcome Week events, I think that's super important and can be really kind of beneficial to you mentally, to know that you've got these people that you've met and, they're in London as well, or they're doing the same course or degree, or they're in the same department as you. But I think it's also important to be able to kind of stay in touch with your network at home. So, years gone by, we didn't have things like FaceTime or Skype, WhatsApp audio, or even mobile phones when people would have gone abroad previously. Now you're in a position where you can do that. And so if you are maybe feeling a bit down, maybe missing home a little bit, you are able to get in touch with friends and family back home really, really easily. And I would say don't feel that you need to force yourself to just be talking to, your new friends and colleagues on your course. You can get in touch with family back home. You can talk to your mum or your best mate or whoever you've left behind and just have a nice chat and see how they're doing. And even though you may feel, oh, I really miss them, it will also, I think, be beneficial to your mood and your mental well-being. So do feel free to lean on your old network as well as building your new one. In terms of culture shock, yeah, this is a tricky one. And any time that I've ever gone somewhere very different to the south of England, I've experienced it. And I would say really with that, it's the old saying is when in Rome, I would say, sorry, I messed up my hair. When in Rome, do as the Romans do. So do maybe try and get involved in maybe the London way of doing things, eat some British food, go to the pub, do a pub quiz, do virtual pub quizzes, go to a cafe or to an English restaurant, or I don't know, Nando's or something like that, although I appreciate it's not English, but it is fantastic. But yeah, these are the things that will help you with your adaptation to the British or London culture. Yeah, in terms of just feeling better about yourself and like you're maybe enjoying London more quickly, I would recommend keeping busy. So if you know, maybe you want to have one day just to chill out and watch Netflix on the weekend, but I would really recommend keeping busy. So if you can go to a gallery, to a museum. As Shannon mentioned previously, one of the great things about London is that the vast majority of these types of cultural experiences are free here. Along with that, of course, there are cinemas everywhere. You can go bowling. What do I like to do? Pubs, restaurants. I've got really into golf. There are lots of golf courses around London if you'd like to go and play some golf. That's a lot of fun. But yeah, generally speaking, the headline is make sure that you give yourself lots of things to do, because as well as it being good for you mentally to be out doing different bits and bobs and meeting new people, it's also, physically good for you exercise wise. So yeah, I think that's beneficial. Doing something different, I think we've kind of spoken about that with culture shock and the idea that you should do as the Romans do. But yeah, again, I think that can really help. If you do feel as though you're struggling, there's a website that we've got listed here, studentminds.org.uk, that has lots of really good information, not just for students in general, but also for students who are on exchange, and so students who have gone to a new country. So I'd really recommend having a look at the resources there, because there's tons of super useful information. And just a reminder, this presentation will be, or the recording of this presentation will be emailed out to all of you who've signed up for it. So you'll be able to just follow the link when you receive it. Yeah, and a final point, that if you do feel that you're struggling, and we all do from time to time, if you'd like to speak to someone, you'd like to set up an appointment, then the Wellbeing Services at Goldsmiths, which we've put the email in a few slides back. And as I say, this is being emailed to you, so you can always click around and find it, or just type Wellbeing into Goldsmiths' website. They are there for you. They're there to talk. They're particularly aware of international students maybe being particularly vulnerable and in need of special care. And so do talk to them. It does help, and yeah, I'd recommend it. Great. We spoke about building a network now that you're in London. Good ways to do that. The student union, I know we keep saying it, but it is really helpful. Clubs and societies, it really is a great way to meet friends. And I think in particular, sorry, for me, anytime that I've gone somewhere new, it's quite helpful to find people that are maybe interested in the same sort of thing as I am. So things like joining to play a sport, even if it's a sport you've not played before. There's an ultimate frisbee team and things like that at Goldsmiths. I think that's a really nice way to meet people. If you happen to be very into rugby, go along to the rugby team. If you happen to be very into football, go along to the football team trials and training. And of course, if you're politically active, as you'll find out Goldsmiths very much is, there are tons of liberation groups that you can get involved in as well. The chaplaincy is a great place for you to go and talk to people. You'll find other people that are maybe in similar situations and have similar beliefs to you. And indeed, it's another nice place for you to go and find someone to talk to who will be a professional listener effectively. And so they'll be very helpful, and I think would be a nice place for you to go and meet and have a chat. There's going to be welcome activities going on the Student Union website, and of course there's Goldsmiths events that are going on as well. These will all be nice places for you to go and virtually meet people. You can have a look on Goldsmiths Facebook groups, your peers, so don't be afraid to ask someone that you've met maybe in your department's induction, or you meet virtually in a lecture or a seminar if they'd like to meet up and have a coffee. You've got to remember that if you're brand new at a university, so is almost everyone else. They're not going to have come here with their own network. So lots of people will be kind of going out of their way to make friends. So do feel free to say, you know, would you like to have a coffee? Would you like to go and get something to eat? Or would you like to go to the pub? Because the vast majority of people are in the exact same boat as you, and they will be bending over backwards to kind of make friends and meet nice new people. And we have a couple of more websites there at the bottom for nice things that you can do. Virtual London, and they're on visitlondon.com, and then meetup.com as well. And if you go to the London link, again, a good place to meet people. Next slide, thank you. We're going to go through a few scenarios now. So this is going to be a slight change of pace. So the scenario that we've got here, what I'd like you to do is maybe think for a minute or two, and if you have any suggestions to what you would do, maybe if you could type it into the Zoom webinar chat, and we'll go on slightly later and look at kind of some suggestions from the Global Opportunities team as to what you might want to do. But yeah, scenario one, it's been a couple of days, let's say you're in your new flat and the heating's not working. What would you do? So whether you're in, you can think about this in your own personal circumstance. So whether you've moved into Goldsmiths halls or whether you've moved into private housing, you arrive, you're in the flat, maybe after a few days, suddenly the heating stops working. Have a think about that and maybe share with us what you would do. I think, yeah, good shout there, Ida. Certainly emailing maintenance is a good first port of call. I like your approach as well, Eva. Ask your flatmate who's managing everything. Yeah, good shout, Kevin. Okay, let's have a look at some suggestions that we've got. Ed, are we okay to go to the next slide with the suggestions? Here we go. So yeah, first thing to check, is the heating turned on? And I think everyone's made this mistake before. You get very concerned that the heating's not on, and then it turns out there's some sort of knob on the side that you weren't aware of that you need to turn it on. So that's the first thing that you can look into. Certainly at my dad's house, the little knob that you turn is just on the right hand side, and you just need to twist it anti-clockwise, turn it on. Or if you're like me and Eva, you go and get your dad's or your flatmate who's managing everything to do it for you. You can also check that the thermostat in the flat is at the right temperature. It may be that the heating is on, but you've just got it on set to 10 or 12 degrees, and so you can't feel it because it is very cold. Reporting the issue to estates or to maintenance, spot on. All of you, I think, have mentioned this. But yeah, you can do so either via calling them, you have the number there, or by emailing them, estates@gold. Please be aware it can take some time to fix more serious issues. However, minor issues can generally be dealt with. If someone from estates comes out, they can generally deal with it kind of on the spot. Further kind of ongoing housing issues, you can speak to the student union if you're struggling to get something resolved via the traditional means of speaking to estates and maintenance. So yeah, as I say, do go to the SU for these sorts of things where you feel as though if there's something with housing that's kind of an ongoing issue. Okay, thank you, Ed. Okay, second scenario, same thing again. If you could, if you could just type a few answers for us into the chat. Okay, scenario 2. You're finding it hard to adjust to the academic system here at Goldsmiths. There was a lot of independent study and you're worried about the upcoming assessments. What do you do? So yeah, any thoughts of what you would do if this happens to you, please do feel free to share them into the chat. Yeah, good shout, Jenny. Brilliant. These are all really good suggestions. Study group, fantastic. Make yourself a study timetable. Brilliant. I realise we're edging towards 5 o'clock, so we're going to move on to the suggestions. So yeah, our suggestions for you: speak to your tutor, be that your personal tutor or the academic that's running the class. If you're a study abroad student, you can speak to your department's ILO. If you're an Erasmus student, you can speak to your department's EAC. You can check out the Academic Skills Centre I mentioned earlier when talking about plagiarism and how to reference. They'll be a really good asset for you if you are struggling, and they can definitely provide you with some support there. Talk to some other students. You can also, if you're a Erasmus or study abroad student, speak to the ESASs. We have 2 of them with us today, in Adja and Temi. You can also speak to PAL at Goldsmiths. This is the peer-to-peer support. So it's peer-assisted learning, I think. If you're struggling with English, you can speak to the English Language Centre that we mentioned earlier. They have modules and will be able to provide you with support to help improve your academic English, which hopefully would help with your ability to kind of deal with your assessments. And of course, we keep mentioning them, the Student Union as well. Okay, next scenario. It's been just over 3 weeks and you're feeling anxious. You don't feel you've settled in yet, you feel isolated and you're missing your home, friends and your family. You're struggling to sleep and this is impacting on your studies. What do you do? Yeah, again, if anyone has any kind of suggestions on this, do feel free to type them into the chat. Yeah, thank you, Jacob. That's a good first thing to do. After that period, though, what do you do next? Brilliant, spot on, Kevin. Fantastic. Let's have a look at the suggestions, please, Ed. So yeah, suggestions here: talk to other students, speak to the wellbeing team we've mentioned, the SU. The website I spoke about just a second ago, studentminds.org, is very helpful. You can get into mindfulness meditation. I think if you Google Headspace. Silver Cloud is another helpful mental health app. As mentioned previously as well, do something different. So you can check out maybe a museum or a gallery. I think galleries in particular are very good for if you're maybe feeling a bit off. And of course, the classic, try some fitness. We all know the link now between exercise and good mental health. So do you feel you can go for a run or go for a bike ride if you have a bike, or even just a nice long walk can really help. Yeah, call home, reflect on your experience. Fantastic. Next slide, please, Ed. Yeah, just having probably on that last slide, just a reminder of the support that is available to you here. We've got the Student Centre, Wellbeing Team, Personal Tutor, ILOs, ELCs, your fellow students, SU, Campus Support Officers, the Chaplaincy, and finally our team. Great, Ed. Okay, and yet here's a checklist of really, I think these are really helpful things that you might want to do now that you're here. I mean, frankly, the majority of them I would say you really should do. So yeah, enrolling, check out your course outline, your deadlines and your exam dates, register with a doctor, download the NHS COVID app, get yourself an Oyster card so you can travel around on our buses and trains, set yourself up with a student bank account, set yourself a budget so you don't go spending crazy and blow all your money in the first week, complete the VLE induction modules that we've talked about, get involved and look after each other. Yeah, good last point there. And yeah, as I say, this is going to be emailed to you so you can check on the checklist again slightly later on. And last slide, I think, Ed.
Hi, yeah, I just wanted to come in as well. Thanks, Jack.
Thank you, Ed.
Anything else from you, Jack?
No, that's great. Cheers.
Just a kind of, I guess, thing to say, just thank you very much for listening. Temi has shared, maybe Temi, you could share it again, an evaluation form, which would be really great if you could fill that in, just to let us know how it was. And we've had a couple of questions in the Q&A that I just wanted to pick up on. And there's been quite a few questions on collecting your biometric residence permit, your BRP. Please contact the immigration team around that. And there's kind of information on the website about kind of collecting those. Some questions around accessing the National Health Service. So many of you will have paid an NHS surcharge as part of your visa application, which will mean that you can access the health service generally for free. There may be some things that you have to pay for, but please do register with a doctor and ask when you do register. If you're having trouble, kind of worried about picking up your ID card because you might be late, then contact idcard@gold.ac.uk, and there is information on the website about that. Don't worry, you will still be able to pick it up. We will be sharing this presentation via email to all of the people who registered, so please do look out for that in your email address. And there were quite a lot of questions about additional language support, English language support, and the ELC. So contact elc@gold.ac.uk if you're interested in finding out more about English language support. And there were a couple of questions around fees as well. And again, sorry, we're going to say contact the fees team. But yeah, if you want to find out about the payment plans, then do check out the contact the fees team for that as well. I think that's us done. Thank you so much for listening for the last 2 hours. Jack and Shannon, thank you for your presenting, and thanks to the team, all of the team behind the scenes answering the questions, and to Temi and Adja for the Q&A as well. Just welcome to Goldsmiths. We're really, really excited to have you here. Enjoy London. It's, I mean, I'm a broken record about London. It's a fantastic, fantastic city. And I know these are kind of strange circumstances to be exploring it. But while you can, you know, kind of explore it outside once quarantine is over, then please do take that opportunity to kind of maybe walk along the South Bank. One of my favorite things is to get the boat up from Greenwich to Westminster. But yeah, welcome to London, welcome to Goldsmiths, and good luck with all your studies. And we really hope that you enjoy your time here. Thanks very much for listening.